Hello again and welcome to Arch Eats. My name is George Mahey, and with me, as always, is my co-pilot,
Cheryl Bear.
And today, this is a special edition of Arch Eats. We're in here on an off day because we have some breaking news to report, which we love to do here on Arch Eats. Today, we're talking to an Austin, Texas transplant, moved to St. Louis, ended up opening one of the most popular and the most successful taco places in town. If you remember, it was brilliant during the pandemic. Now there's a second location, bigger, bolder. I'm talking about Taco Buddha and its owner, Kurt Eller. Welcome aboard, sir.
Hey, thank you. It's great to be here.
How's that for an intro? Do you like that?
Kurt, I have to tell you, your margaritas got me through the pandemic, the gallons of them. So thank you for that.
That's my pleasure.
Get right to the point.
Yeah.
Sir. I like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're here with Kurt Eller, and we don't want to bury the lead. Kurt has some exciting news for us. It could be anything. Kurt, you've got 2 locations, but...
So, yes, we signed a lease for Botanical Heights, where the old Olio was.
Yay.
Very, very exciting. That
Very
building's
exciting.
been vacant for too long,
Over a year.
and it was really exciting when we heard the news. And I guess we should talk about it's a different kind of building because Olio is a little converted gas station, and behind it was Elia, which is where the kitchen was. And I thought, well, why don't they split those two up? But talk about that building. It didn't really work out that way.
No, we are having to use the Elia kitchen, and it has stairs that lead up to it and come down. So we're going to be walking up and down with our food coming out of the kitchen. However, that's pretty much what we're doing at U City with the ramp. The ramp is almost the same as the stairs are. So we'll be using that kitchen in Elia. Also, everybody says, oh, that's a small building, and it is. We can get about the same number of seats in it as U City. So we can get about 30 seats in there. But we are also building out a 4-season patio on the south side. Between that and a little seating area up front, we can get another 70 seats. So we're shooting for 100 seats.
I think anyone who questions whether or not it's a small space, when you opened U City, it was just a shotgun little place. And you have been the masters of the 4-season patio. So sounds like a good.
I remember when it opened, you
Good thing.
could justifiably call it a taco joint because it had
Sure.
about 20 seats maybe, right?
We had actually 24.
It just wasn't very big. And then you added that patio on, and that was one of the nicest patio
Oh, it's
jobs
lovely.
I've ever seen. And Cheryl and I were talking about this. That patio is as cozy in the wintertime as an inside building. And I don't know how you do it. There's some heaters, and it's just, I always drive by there. I go, look, everybody's having such a good time in there. And you are masters of alfresco dining.
Well, we got lucky and we tried a couple different things, but it's surprising that that thin plastic that we roll down with the heaters that we have, and we got new ones 2 years ago, which are incredible, that we can't even turn up to high. It can be 15 degrees outside and people are comfortable
Wow.
in where the plastic is. So I don't know how that worked, but it seems to work.
And is that the plan at Botanical Heights as well, to take what you learned and convert that into the outdoor space there? I guess we're going to get into the footprint at Botanical Heights.
Yeah, let's
what
talk
the
about
vibe
that.
is.
How exactly it's going to be different than U City. It's a little bit the same. You've got a small space that'll be much larger just because of all the patio action that you'll have. But I did want to talk about that Elia space. What are you going to do? I mean, I know the kitchen's up there, but there's also a restaurant up there. That's where they conducted high-end dinners.
Yeah, it's a good space that we're kind of putting on the back burner. So we're going to expand the kitchen out a little bit for a prep area and just keep that. We're not using it in the beginning. So it will be there if we decide we want a little private dining space for larger parties.
And I bet you do. I mean, it's always in demand, those private dining spaces.
Yes. But for now, they can go to the Bendecito room. Book that out.
Right. We can shift gears to the Bendecito room. This is in the U City facility. It's in the former Kirst Bikes and Coffee spot on the corner of Jackson and Pershing. Beautiful space. You just opened it a couple months ago because you had to have some private dining space, right?
Well, yes. Well, actually, we tried to get other coffee concepts in there, and we had a couple that were interested because coffee really worked well with us because that was a morning time thing, and lunch came and dinner, so it was very symbiotic, but they didn't bite, and we wanted to protect that space, and we really didn't want to create full-time overflow because it could really crush our kitchen. So we thought of it being a private dining space, and it's turned out really well.
You're booking parties left and right, especially, I would think, in the spring season.
We are.
We'll get back to University City in a minute. Let's keep talking about Botanical Heights. That's the elephant in the room. What appealed to you guys about that neighborhood? I think I know the answer, but I want to hear it from you.
Yeah, we just thought that location was exceptional. It draws from Central West End, and then also we're getting people that didn't always know about us or frequent us down in the city. And just the neighborhood vibe and the space and surrounding area fits exactly what we're going after. It's a similar magic to what we found in U City in many ways. The community is behind us, and the fabric of the neighborhood is behind us, and we're excited to start building a relationship with the neighbors.
Ben Parembas started everything down there. That's just a hot corner. I'm glad to see you guys are there.
Yeah.
How long is it going to take you to get this guy open?
Well, we're moving through some red tape. Our first hurdle, I think, will be solved June 12th, and that's our conditional permit. And with that, we can start in the interior, but the exterior, because it is a historical building, we have to work with the preservation and the city to meet what they think is allowable, especially with the outdoor patio and in the front entryway, which we want to do on the north side of the building. So if we get the swinging hammers in latter part of June, and then soon after that, we're able to do the exterior. We're shooting for the end of August, beginning of September, probably pretty aggressive. And don't hold us to it, but that's what we're shooting for.
Have you talked to people in the neighborhood? Are they just beyond thrilled about this?
Actually, Ben and I were part of a Zoom call with the Botanical Heights Neighborhood Association. And we had a little digital brochure that we shared with them. And they ended up writing us a glowing recommendation letter that the alderwoman has in hand now.
And you talk about Ben, and this is your partner in Taco Buddha, Ben Hillman.
Yes.
Who's involved in some other restaurant projects in town.
Yes, he is.
And again, when you made that transition from U City to Kirkwood, there was a whole different vibe there. I mean, some of that decor and some of that artwork was just beautiful. I mean,
it's stunning.
It was a beautiful restaurant with patios front and side, really just a different layout, different footprint. Are you going to bring some of that artwork and some of that decor to Botanical Heights? Is that the plan? Is it kind of the same
totally.
vibe as Kirkwood?
We're formulating how it's all going to come together, and we're not quite there yet, but all the elements that you see at Kirkwood, you're going to see at Botanical Heights, but they're going to be different. We want to start mirroring what the local scene is like. So it's going to be a little different, but it's going to be cool. So thank you for Kirkwood for that.
It's great. Food the same? Drinks the same?
Yeah, I was going to ask, what about the menu? Do you have location-specific items there, or are you going to keep it pretty much what people have already come to expect of you?
We want to keep it consistent, and that's really kind of how we want to move forward in other locations too, with the same menu across. And obviously, it's easier to execute too. Now, with the third one, we are starting to consider maybe a specific to that location, different special taco. So we didn't really think about it, but now we're considering it. But it'll be the same menu, yes. Same margaritas, same drinks, full bar.
One thing we were talking about a little bit is curbside pickup, which if anybody mastered that during the pandemic, it was you. It was very, I don't want to say involved, but it was very well thought out. You had spaces and you would move the cars up. I've never seen such organization in my life, and it was brilliant. And I think that's one of the reasons you've probably got the money to do the second and third location, because it was really, really well done. But you don't have that luxury in Botanical Heights. There's just a couple parking spaces. How are you going to achieve the same magic?
Well, we're going to have to be fast. We're going to use those 4 spaces up front. We can get 4 spaces, and those are going to be dedicated to curbside because it is important to us. It's a big part of our sales. And we've already thought through the flow of how it's going to exit the kitchen and go. They'll have a monitor. We'll see the orders that come through. We'll be talking to the people that pull into the 4 spaces, and we'll be able to get it out to them quickly. That does take away all our parking. So, street parking, we have to get with everybody so they are endeared to street parking. That's what it is.
You know what? It worked fine with Olio and Elia. It can work fine for Taco Buddha as well.
Yes, that's one of the things we learned at Kirkwood was we had that parking lot that to code, we had 34 spaces. And then everybody thought, okay, well, there's going to be a space for me. And when busy times, which there were a lot and are a lot, and there's not a space, they would get pretty angry. Both streets on each side are street parking. So they figured that out, and we've gotten through that. But at first, the parking was an issue.
When you went to Kirkwood, now you're in Botanical Heights, so this is your third one. Is there any lessons that you learned out there that you're going to take? I always want to know what people have learned along the way. Consistency, obviously, you've got it. That's number one.
Well, from the start, I went way overboard on the budget.
It's not hard to do.
You and every other restaurant guy I know.
So we're going to really keep close to that. We also kind of were winging our service in the beginning. Even though we had 2 weeks of soft opening training, it took a while to get our SOP in order, which we did focus on, and we got it in short order. We're going to focus on the training much more intensely with Botanical Heights.
That's one thing that I just thought was interesting along the way. You were very transparent, and anytime there was a problem, like, sorry, we weren't on our game last night, folks. We had this or that. You were always willing to share what went wrong. And I didn't ever see anybody do that on social media. And you were very upfront about it. What brought that on, and was it successful? Did people say, well, thank you, I appreciate that? Or we were going to be mad and now we're not, kind of thing? How did that work out?
Yeah, and I'd also like to add, during the pandemic, the emails as well. It wasn't just posts on social media. Those were wonderful, just communicating everything. It really seems like, George, what you alluded to, it's part of your identity, that it almost feels very interactive.
I don't think I've ever seen such a transparent organization. I mean that in a really good way. Did that just come naturally? Just how did that whole thing come about?
Well, it kind of starts with our whole ethos of being transparent and humility and talking about curbside. Yes, we were working with Square when they were developing that whole order ahead online curbside with the time slots and everything. But we talk about something we learned. A dummy like me, we actually closed the whole month of April because we were getting a lot of feedback from neighbors because of what we were sending. And some dummy decided to start curbside back up on Cinco de Mayo.
Oh, goodness gracious.
And then
oh, boy.
the system wasn't working.
I remember that day.
Do you still have nightmares about that?
OMG.
That was an email or two that went out after that.
We had to. And we just brought a bunch of margaritas to everybody. We had the line of cars all the way up to Del Mar, up Jackson. So, yeah, that's kind of started our honest communication. It really started during COVID.
Yeah.
Just to let people know. And I don't know, it just felt right. And Michael, our marketing manager, that's what he believed in. And so we would always craft something to send out. And then, when you hear feedback from customers really appreciating that, it kind of gives you the go ahead with it.
It's really genuine. It's really sincere. And like you said, you've got the instant feedback and people say, thank you for that, or now we understand. And basically they'll give you another shot where they might not have without that communication.
Yes. So when we found that instance many times and felt that that was the right thing to do.
So with Botanical Heights, what made you feel that you were ready for another location? Was it a situation where it was an opportunity that came up and you jumped on it, or were you looking to do another location and that one just seemed like a right fit?
Well, we were looking, and I was kind of looking, but Ben was really looking. So he found this because there was another concept actually from Austin that had almost signed the lease.
Oh.
And so it wasn't available. And he found out, and the landlord, who we know pretty well, he talked to him and negotiated a really good lease. So we were ready. I think we're ready, but we have it now, and Ben got it.
And that's important. People say, why do restaurants fail? One of the main reasons is a bad lease. All these restaurant guys are so starry-eyed all the time, and they sign a bad lease. They basically have to be full 360 days a year to make a buck. So I'm glad you've got Ben on your side to negotiate that. That's one of the biggest pitfalls ever. So
Totally.
you're off on the right foot.
Yes.
So now you're up to 3 locations. And when I think back on Taco Buddha, I think of walking into the teeny little spot in U City that I think it was just breakfast taco. It was early days.
I remember the staghorn ferns.
Oh, yes.
Oh, gosh.
You don't have to water them. What a beautiful thing to do in a restaurant.
Oh, it was great.
We kept getting new ones after we put the covering outside, and we finally figured out that sun filtering in is what kept them alive. So we no longer can have, I love staghorn ferns.
I think of all the growth that's happened since then. including the Ferns, but the growth of the restaurant group
Yep.
there. What was your original vision for Taco Buddha? How has it evolved? Did you ever think that you would be sitting here talking about your forthcoming third location?
No, I really didn't anticipate the growth. I guess I thought about it in the beginning. I did want to open up a community-based taco joint with similar offerings than what we have. I kind of had all the menu in my mind, although it's evolved a lot. I forecasted a decent income if we did it right. And I also wanted somebody I trust to run it so I could spend a lot of time going out to our property in New Mexico. But none of that really happened other than the growth.
Right.
New Mexico's always there.
We did start with breakfast and lunch.
Yes.
And we were always closed on Sunday and Monday till recently. So I just wanted to kind of be a very easy place for the neighborhood to enjoy.
Yeah, so you really did originally just see this as an amenity for the neighborhood.
Really
For-
did.
Not for fun. I mean, no one gets into the restaurant business just for fun, but this wasn't your day job. This wasn't your vision, or was it? Tell us about your background.
So the background is that I was in the restaurant business pretty much from college and then after, and owned a few, was a partner of a few. And then the second to the last one that I did in Austin, I barely got away with the shirt on my back. But the last one, I lost a lot of money and didn't even get it open.
Oh, wow.
And so that was it for the restaurant business. So I went into the furniture business and helped a really cool wholesale furniture company grow. And then till 2005, I spent most of my time overseas in our factories in Asia. So when I moved here, I still had a corporate job in the furniture business and bought a house a block away from the U City location. And I would take a lot of walks and I just kept looking at that place. And then I saw Kirst being built. And I just like, oh, here I go again. I'm going to the crazy side again. So yeah, and that was 2017. And the job that I had, they were really nice enough, and I know the family, to allow me to take a 90-day leave of absence to see how it worked. And it worked out well. And I just didn't go back. And here we are.
Here we are.
And how would you describe the food? There's all kinds of ways to describe a taco, but you had a special vision, something a little bit different.
My New Mexico roots and love for the chili, the green chili, which turns red after it's ripened, I always really wanted to use that. And then I was really looking at the taco concepts that were coming out of Austin at the time, Torchy's, Velvet Taco, and all other ones in food trucks. So I kind of had this in mind, but I also wanted to bring in the influence of other areas of the world. So Asian areas, even South American areas. What we tell people is that it is a Southwest kitchen with global influences. So picture a cool Southwest kitchen with red and green chilies everywhere that looks down to Mexico for a lot of inspiration, but also allows people to come in and give us ideas for Asian influence.
Somebody came in there for the first time and they said, Kurt, what should I have? What would you tell them? An appetizer, taco. I know there's the hits, but what are your favorites?
I mean, I
Or
can
what
tell
would-
you this right here. I eat it almost every week. So I'm a
Cheryl,
super
there's a
fan.
question for you.
Right?
You know, you can't go wrong with the Baja fish taco. It's fried, but it does have a gluten-free batter. Everything is gluten-free except for our flour tortillas. In the beginning, we divided our menu between traditional and adventuresome. And the adventuresome tacos were the Jodhpur, which is like a chicken tandoori, and it's made just like a chicken tandoori without tandoor oven. And then the Thailand street taco, which we call the Thailand. So I would probably direct people there if I knew them well enough and said they're ready to experience something different.
Yeah, are you game for international flavors? Here you go. We've got something for you.
But we had people come there and say, what is this? Where's the crispy taco shell? These aren't the tacos that I'm used to. So we had to deal with that as well.
Did the fried avocado wedges go over immediately, or was that something you had to sell people?
We had enough people that were curious. They do it in Texas. It's not just one off. A lot of people do it. So yeah, it took off pretty immediately. The thing about those too is you got to eat them right fresh out of the fryer. That's when they're best and not just sitting around. And we have to watch that.
George, what's your order? I'm curious.
Those two things, Baja fish tacos. There's a chicken, is it a tinga?
chicken tinga that we have.
I
and
like that one.
That's a special, but we bring it back a couple times a year.
And, multiple margaritas and the chips and salsa are great. I don't know what you do to those margaritas besides add more tequila, but they're really, really
Oh my
good.
God, they're perfect. And for frozen margaritas, when we get frozen margaritas, we often think of those really fake, syrupy. These are so bright and vibrant and just delicious.
I was just at the counter the other day and somebody came up and our people weren't there. So I rang them up and they said, what kind of margarita should we have? I said, usually when I go out, I get a margarita on the rocks, but I recommend our frozen margaritas. And I gave them a taste and he said, that's what I want, especially in the hot summertime.
And you provide both of these on a pickup basis, right? Can you get a jug of margaritas if you order and pick up?
You certainly can.
And please do. Yeah.
And we put the salt and the limes on the side so you can get a quart, a half gallon, or a gallon.
So aside from a margarita in every hand, what are the plans for the future of Taco Buddha? Where do you see this going? Do you see more locations? It's hard to say that when you're trying to get one up and running, but what is your vision for the future?
Yeah. At one time you said Louisville, Tulsa, Kansas City, Wisconsin. Was that just Ben Hillman dreaming, or is that really going to happen?
Well, that was both of us dreaming. We got to get that first one up and going. That's our focus. We have to get it going. It's kind of a milestone for us, that third one, and a proof of concept. I mean, obviously, I like those places, and they look good for a Taco Buddha, but we got to get Botanical Heights going.
So Taco Buddha's, I call it a home run. Are there anything else in your mind that you'd like to do? Like, sometime I want to do this. Not to distract you from Taco Buddha, but
George, just honing in on what taco can be, it takes all my energy. And yes, I love to cook and I love to think about different concepts, but no, there's no plans of mine. Now, Ben, you never know. He's got all the high points.
Right.
And he's at Taco Buddha quite often and collaborating with us. He loves Taco Buddha, but I don't know what he wants to do. I don't think he has any plans immediately for a different concept.
I know you've got really, really good management. You've got good staff. That's not easy to do. And you've said many times that it boils down to people. And you said taking care of them with true authenticity. And then Ben comes around and he calls it a people first business. You guys are both reading from the same page, but what does that mean exactly?
Well, Ben and I gelled a couple of years earlier because that was our belief. And it's kind of a Danny Meyer concept too. If you take care of your people, they'll take care of you. We value individuals, what their goals are in life, provide benefits, insurance, really a good PTO plan. We listen to people more than anything. If people say something, we listen. If we tell somebody we're going to do something, we make sure we do it. And I don't think that's true with everybody in the business. So I don't want to judge anybody. So people first, we get to know everybody by their name. Talk to them, we value them. And it's very important to us to give people schedules that work with the other parts of their lives. If they have kids, a lot of them have kids and they're sharing time with their spouse, with their kid.
Well, and I think that people first, as you said, you take care of your staff. I have not had an experience there where I've walked away and haven't felt like there's just a great energy in the place.
So it's crazy and really wonderful that in almost all our reviews, Yelp, Google, and no matter if it's good or bad review on the food, a lot of them are raving reviews. They talk about the friendly service that they've had. And to me, that's just endearing. And that's just our ethos. It did take a while to get there, I have to say. And I do think, in my mind, that the fire that we had that shut us down for 3.5 months started at 1:32 a.m. on January 4th, 2019.
Not like you remember it or anything, right?
I was jolted out of my bed, but we had a staff that I was working with prior to that just couldn't click. And I was there 24/7 running it. And so for some reason that just kind of cleared the slate. Obviously we had 2 people in the kitchen that we kept on and helped us with a lot of work around there, but all the new people that we hired to reopen after that fire, that was what generated the ethos that we have.
And it's so important, and really, it's so simple. You alluded to Danny Meyer, and basically, it's almost like a golden rule, a really simple Midwestern ethos. Just treat people how you want to be treated, and we're all a bunch of nice folks here, and treat them like they're nice folks, and they'll be nice folks. And easier said than done, I think. We see a lot of places with chips on their shoulder, but man, you've just nailed it. We're very much looking forward to the arrival of Taco Buddha in Botanical Heights in, my fingers crossed, September, right?
Fingers crossed. Don't hold us to it. We're going to be working hard to make that happen.
We're going to let you go. Thank you for joining us here today on Arch Eats.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
Hey, that's all from here. See you next time. Be sure to follow us and share with your friends. And we always provide links in the show notes for everything you heard about today. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button and follow along on Instagram at St. Louis Mag. And feel free to give us a follow personally at George Mahey and Cheryl A. Bear.
If you loved what you heard, show us some love by rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts. And if you're hungry for even more content, you can subscribe to our dining newsletters for the freshest coverage on the local restaurant and culinary scene.
Best dishes, and see you next time.